Welcome into another edition of Press Box Live. And if it's Tuesday, you're not usually watching the three of us, but we took Labor Day off. And we're here on Tuesday. I'm Stan, the fan of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com. With me is the managing editor of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com, Luke Jackson. Raise your thumbs, Luke.
Thank you for having me, Stan. It's always a pleasure.
Always
be
a
on the
pleasure
air
to
with
have
Stan
you
Charles. The legend, Stan Charles.
No, the legend.
The legend, Ross Grimsley. You know what? I've been corrected.
Yeah. I'm the icon.
You've been there longer than me.
Joining us, as always, on these baseball gab fests is Ross Grimsley, former 20-game winner with the Baltimore Orioles, and just an all-around great baseball presence. Not only smart, he's funny, and he's very educatable in terms of not us educating him. He educates us. Let me tell you who we're brought to you by. We're brought to you by our friends at AJ Michaels. What company makes your home more energy efficient, kills all allergens and viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? That would be AJ Michaels. Turn to the experts. AJ Michaels and Carrier, they are the big guys at ajmichaels.com. We're also brought to you by Atman's Deli in Harbor Point, Baltimore's Harbor Point, right next to Fells Point. It's upscale, but it's a deli. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar. Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, have takeout, or hang out at our bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find them at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com. And of course, I'll talk to you midway through the show about our long-standing Six Thumb restaurant, the Costas Inn. That's all we have to say is six thumbs for now for the Costas Inn. We'll talk more about that. Speaking of putting your thumbs up, Ross, what makes Zach Eflin so damn good? He came
he's
back,
fun to watch too,
and he's very watchable. As Luke and I always text each other, it's an easy watch. What does he have that's so special? He seems like he simplifies everything.
pretty much. I mean, I think the fact that it tells you what throwing strikes can do for you. And he's a guy, he's not overpowering. I think obviously he realized that, but he pitches. You know, he keeps the ball in the middle of the plate for the most part, changes speeds. He gets ahead. He'll get ahead, say 0-2, and he'll make a pitch that either looks inviting, or he'll make a pitch that will set up the next pitch. He's a thinker. He has an idea of what he wants to do, and he executes, and he does it in an easy manner. You know, he don't try to overdo it, because anytime you try to overdo it, you make mistakes. As a pitcher, you try to overthrow a fastball, you won't hit your spot. You try to overthrow a breaking ball, you'll eventually hang them, and there'll be spinners and cement mixers, so to speak. But yeah, he's a guy that like I said, goes after hitters when he has to, pitches around them when I guess a certain guy or a better hitter has some guys on base. He's not going to let them hurt him. But he
sounds a little like a right-handed Ross Grimsley. Seriously,
probably with a little better stuff.
He's got a little better stuff, but he's a thinking man's pitcher.
He's a guy. He's a guy from the past.
Yeah,
you know, he pitched. That's kind of the way guys pitched in eras ago, and it just. I mean, you can punch out 7 innings or more at times when needed, and that's something that's lacking in this day and age.
Yeah,
and it takes away from the staff and really drains your bullpen.
And one more thing about him with you, Ross, before I turn to Luke. Luke and I both say that he's so watchable because he's throwing strikes. That does equal better defense behind you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you throw strikes, the infielders and outfielders have to be on their toes. You work at a quick pace. That's one of the things that I never understood, why they had to put a pitch clock in.
Right.
It just made no sense to me, because we always, back with in the 70s, we worked quick, especially on the weekends, because we wanted to get back and watch Saturday Night Live. So we would hurry up. The games were 2 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. But I mean, if you do that, the hitters become defensive. They start thinking more about you being quick and getting the ball, and the catcher. We told the catchers, put the sign down as quick as you can. You get the ball, throw it back, put the sign down because I'm ready to go. The hitters hate that.
Now, did that start out as a Bamberger thing or Ray Miller?
Uh,
With you, it would have been Bamberger, wouldn't it?
We worked. I just that was something that you did. But the year I won 20 games, I mean, I got the ball and I pitched like Jim Cott used to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him pitch in 73, or no, in I think it was 77. And and I said, I'm going to try that. And I did, and the hitters hated it.
Right.
They couldn't because when you get the ball go. They put their hand up for timeout. They put that hand down, the ball was on the way.
Yeah.
And I told Carter, I said, get the ball back to me quick as you can. And the fielders were always, they couldn't sit back, and the only time you slowed it down was when guys were on base. And then you'd vary your times at the plate, you'd throw over anything to keep them from getting a good jump. But it was, it's a game and a game. Little things you can do.
Luke, we were so excited when we acquired Corbin Burns. Don't get me wrong, this isn't to rag on him. The net results are still pretty good, but you and I talk about it. He's not watchable. I mean, it's a real. My friend Paul Baker, the basketball guru, the late Paul Baker, he used to call something like that. It's a real taffy pull. I mean, it's like really just work watching him,
Well, yeah, the thing about you love about Eflin is that he fills up the zone, he executes a game plan, he misses in the right places, meaning he's not going to miss in the middle of the plate. He'll miss off the plate. He will give up some hits, but he's going to hold runners. He's going to be quick to the plate. He's going to field his position. He's going to do everything. He's the kind of pitcher that Buck Showalter would have loved. He would have loved Zach Eflin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Burns has better stuff. Although the cut fastball isn't quite what it was back in his prime in Milwaukee, like when he was competing for Cy Youngs in Milwaukee, that was like a devastating 96, 98 mile an hour cutter. I don't know how much we've seen that this year. And in August, he really struggled to get swings and misses on that pitch. And as such, I think it's been a little bit of a struggle for him to adjust. And I thought the curveball was a little tighter early in the season. I think it's been a touch loopier. And so they need him to get back to his first half form. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, he can be a little bit more of a, as you said, a taffy pull than Eflin, just in terms of turning 0-2 counts to 3-2 counts. Walking hitter, she probably shouldn't walk. Not that he walks a ton. But the biggest issue for him in August was that he just wasn't missing a whole lot of bats. And the defense behind him wasn't great. And it seemed like maybe there was a double play that wasn't turned, or there was an error, or there was a blue pit, and then suddenly there's a 3-run homer, and it's a 4-run inning, and it's a 5-1 game. That seemed to happen a lot to him. And I'm sure Ross can speak to how that can snowball a lot better than I can. When things aren't going well, it seems like every mistake, every error turns into a big inning. I would think that's how it feels.
Really, what happens? You get hit a little bit at times. You come defensive, and you don't want to throw the ball over the plate, and then you start trying to make too good of pitches, and before you know it, it's 0-2. Now it's 3-2, and now you got to throw the ball over the plate. But that happens. You become defensive, and you pitch away from contact. And that is something that happens now. Is pitching away from contact is what guys try to do, and by throwing the ball much harder than you have to throw it and breaking it off, the hardest breaking ball you've ever thrown to get swings and misses. And that happens. And when you get hit a little bit at times and, a few times in a row, then you become defensive and you kind of shy away from being aggressive to the hitters, and that could be
and the home run ball has gotten to Burns a little bit. What Burns was doing so well in the first half of the season, it was almost like a defensive coordinator who is going to tell the opposing quarterback, you need to put together a 12-play drive to score a touchdown. You're not going to beat me over the top. Well, Burns was saying, well, in order to beat me, you got to put like 3 singles together. And that's what he was doing early this season. He wasn't giving up a lot of home runs. But the other thing that really over the course of the season has become an issue for him is the not holding runners thing. That has become a big issue. And
you could see him consciously work on that.
And Ben McDonald was mentioning that with during the broadcast yesterday, that he thinks that he has quickened up his time to the plate with a runner on first base, which he thinks maybe is elevating his pitches a little bit, because where Burns likes to work, and this makes him unique in today's game, he likes to work down, down, down with everything. The cutter's down, the sinker's down, the curveball's down, everything's down, changeup's down. Whereas most pitchers today like to work at the top of the zone a good bit for that swing and miss. And so Ben was saying that because he's quickening his time to the plate, quickening his delivery, down, down, down is becoming a little more thigh high type of deal. And that's where the home run pitch comes into play.
He's rushing the ball out of his hand a little bit.
He rushes what Ben body and gets ahead of his arm.
And so I thought,
with trying to be quick to the plate.
And I thought that maybe they would match him with McCann more.
Yeah.
Just kind of what they did more in the first half, but he's worked with Adley a lot more. McCann's a better thrower than Adley.
Yeah, no question.
So, but in the playoffs, you probably want the better bat in there behind the plate. So I don't know. They've got some decisions to make on that front. I do think that perhaps he's a better fit with McCann. Who knows?
Dean Kramer, who was having a so-so season, then had that long injury, the calf injury that can be nagging, came back, and it took him a couple starts, and he put together a couple good starts, and then he got hit by this batted ball the other day. First of all, I heard Melanie Newman, and then I read it in the banner that they referred to that as a comebacker. Wasn't that a vicious line drive that hit him off of his forearm?
105 miles an hour.
A comebacker is sort of the one that sort of hits your shin, and it goes, ow, oh boy, that hurt,
line drive comebacker.
Yeah, that was a vicious line drive that hit him on the forearm. Luckily, there's no sign of fracture. How long do you think Rossi's out for? I mean, they've got to put him on an IL, don't they?
It depends on where he got hit. Basically,
it was like right here on. Well, I'm wearing a black shirt.
Like in that area,
here, right? Yeah, and that it depends. Like I said, you get bruised here, and it swells, and it comes to now you got to start manipulating the ball, and if you're stiff and sore, it's going to make it a problem, And like I said, I've been hitting the arm, and in different spots. And how does it, does the swelling go down? But it's going to be sore, it's going to be bruised, and it's just a matter of where it hit them.
It's a 2-week thing?
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it could be. But I mean, with the way they do things now with the medical people, they should have him out. I would be surprised. He may miss a start, but unless it's worse than that and the swelling, but it bruises the muscles and tendons. It could have hit the muscles and stuff and really caused a problem. It's just a matter of where it hit and how long it's going to be sore, before. But thank God it wasn't broken, and that was a good thing.
That is, thank God for that, because he'll come back, and in some way, shape, or form, it might force him into more of a bullpen role. Because in the playoffs, again, several times you don't really need a fifth starter. And Suarez is pitching so well right now that maybe Dean Kramer would be better helping the team in the 5th and 6th innings of games.
They'll see what happens. Yeah.
All right. Let me do our Costas in spot. Then when we come back, Luke, you and I talked about it. We want to get Ross's take on how the Orioles were able, I'm giving full credit to Gregory Soto, but how quickly he was able to calm down what he was doing on the mound and become perhaps a force enough to end up being a closer before it's all said and done in this calendar season. We'll talk about that when we get back. You're listening to Press Box Live, or you're watching Press Box Live, and now it's time to do a live commercial for our place, the Costas Inn. Costas Inn's been at that location at 4100 North Point Boulevard for over 50 years. They've got to be doing a lot of things right, not just doing a thing right. They're doing it all right there. They've got, first of all, if you're still nervous, there's a little bit of a flash in the COVID numbers now and again. If you're nervous about that, they've still got curbside. You can go online at costasinn.com. That's COSTAS in INN, costasinn.com. You can order your food online, pay for it online, and pick it up. Now, you can't pick it up online, but you can pick it up and don't even have to get out of your car. They'll bring it out to your car, and everything, the soups, the sandwiches, the ribs, the crabs, it's all packed immaculately at the Costas Inn. And again, something I've been pointing out lately, since the bridge collapse, which is a catastrophe to parts of the economy and everything. And of course, there was a loss of life. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as it could have been if the police hadn't acted so quickly. But a lot of people from over at Catonsville, Arbutus, Columbia, Glen Burnie aren't coming to the Costas Inn. There's room for you now if you live in Essex, Middle River, Sparrows Point, or Dundalk. Retry the Costas Inn again for the first time in a while. The Costas Inn. You won't be sorry you did. They've got great specials nightly, Monday through Friday on that menu. The Costas Inn. We give it 6 thumbs up. And we always do. You're going to be in during the holidays again, Ross? So we can go out there?
I'm coming up on the 20th, but of this month, but I'm going to Salisbury.
Okay. Oh, you're doing one of your shows there?
For one of them charity things, yeah.
All right. All right.
So, I wish I could make it over there.
But are you coming in for the holidays? I meant like
No.
Thanksgiving, Christmas?
No,
Not coming in.
We're staying here. Yeah.
All right. We'll have to send you some crabs.
Absolutely.
All right. Luke, you and I talked a lot about this, that Gregory Soto, that delivery he had when he arrived in Baltimore. And I'm not saying I studied his whole career. He had a pretty unwieldy delivery in Detroit.
Right.
And he had a pretty unwieldy delivery when he was successful in Philly. This hasn't been a great year for him. And he came over here in the first 4 or 5 outings, pretty disastrous. That where people are starting to say, boy, they gave up Seth Johnson for this guy. But his last 8 outings, 7 in the 3rd innings, no runs. I think 1 hit, 1 walk, no homers, a bunch of 7 strikeouts or something. But we've been amazed at how quickly they've calmed down that delivery. I wanted to get Ross's take on that. Ross, is that simply Drew French going up, making a couple suggestions, or does Gregory Soto say, Coach, I don't know what the hell I'm doing now?
Very possible that could have been.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a little bit of Soto probably went up and said something, or vice versa. And I'm sure they looked at video. But guys, big heart throwing guys. I mean, like you said, he probably had success in the past at times. But you look at different pitchers over there. Juan Marichal, you're going to change him. He threw strikes. He had a big leg kick. A lot of guys. Koufax at one time, they told him, you don't have to try to throw 110 miles an hour.
Palmer had a pretty high leg kick.
But had a big leg kick. Yeah, I mean, you look at a lot of guys over the years. The kid with the Giants, I can't even think of his name. The one Cy Young. I'm blank.
I'm blank too. Long hair.
Yeah. I mean, Lincecum, yeah. He here's a guy that you would change his delivery, but he could throw strikes. And
Ross, the young guy, notice how he thought, why can't they remember that guy? Wait until he gets our age, right?
I know, you're right.
Yeah.
But I tell you, they tried to change Bumgarner. And he started doing it. He says, Grims, I can't do that. I go, don't do it. What got you here? Do what got you there. And then if you need to be, if you can't do certain things, you can't throw certain pitches, you can't throw strikes, then go back to what got you to where you were at. But in Soto's situation, I would think, I don't know for sure, but it looks like they simplified. If a guy's not throwing strikes, and you look at his delivery, how's your balance? How's your directions? Your direction to late? Are you off balance? Like I said, and there's little things. Just simplify it. Go back to the basics of a delivery, and make it as simple as you can because. Obviously you got a good arm, but make it simple and go from there. And obviously they quieted it down a little bit, made it very simple. Because when guys struggle in any batting, fielding, whatever, you go back to the basics. Get back to the basics and go from there. And then hopefully you can remember what you did to do. It's like a golf swing. And as a pitching coach, and a lot of times guys on the side or during the game, you threw that pitch. What'd you do? Well, I don't know. Well, that's what you need to do. You need to remember what you did, and you only need a couple. You only need a couple of different things to remember to do it, because one thing usually eliminates another thing. But you can't think about a lot of different things, and expect to have success.
So I have a quick question for you, Ross, on this front. If you have a struggling reliever who you're committed to getting right, how do you work with that reliever so that he's still fresh enough to pitch that night? Or is it a situation where it's like, okay,
we're going to work on a day
he's
off.
down tonight, we're going to do a heavy bullpen with him today and we'll try to work out the kinks? How does that
Great question.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, and again, I bring up mind going crazy again. The old pitching coach from Atlanta that came to Baltimore, Leo Mazzoni. Mazzoni had a thing, and I took this to Seattle, and I took it to San Francisco, and we did it. Very simple thing. The relievers threw a little bit every day. The starters threw on a 5-day, they would throw in between on their throw day, then they throw a little bit the next day. All comes down to throwing, touch and feel off the mound. Relievers would do that. They would throw off the mound. You could move the catcher up where he was throwing 50 feet, and you could work on, they're going to play catch anyway. Every day they play, they should. So my thought in talking with Leo and seeing, because I worked in Atlanta for a couple of years, and he was the major league pitching coach, or he was the minor league, I think, guy, but he had some horses, but they came through the system. That was the problem with the Orioles. He didn't go through the system with the minor league guys. If he would have done that, they would have had something, but it didn't have the opportunity to do that.
So I'm listening to you on today's show, Ross. So far, you copied Cott, you copied Mazzoni as a coach. Did you ever come up with your own ideas?
Well, I did what Mazzoni did as a starter, and that was just, and I was kind of surprised that the idea that he did, but he had relievers throwing on the side, and you look back, I didn't relieve that much, but there's no reason why you can't throw off the mound in one day. You never go 2 days in a row without not throwing off the mound. I don't throwing off flat ground. I never understood it. If you're going to throw your pitches up, play catch off. You can play catch off the mound, and that's what I think would really help relievers if they did that. But they go, "Oh, I can't do it. I'll throw too hard." Well, control yourself and don't. Yeah. You're playing catch. You're working on different things: delivery, mechanics, release point, spin. You can do all of that because you're going to do it anyway on flat ground. So why not do that off the mound? Just learn to control yourself, and I think that makes a lot of difference. It improves command, it cuts down walks, and it cuts down injuries.
Luke, a couple points. We talked about Kramer, and Ross said, really, you don't know. It's going to be probably at least 2 weeks on Kramer. We hope maybe it'll be shorter, but you want to make sure he's okay to pitch. We don't know anything yet on Grayson, but there is, I hear, a little good news on Coulomb.
Apparently, this is according to the reporters on site. I'm not reporting this. This is them on Twitter. He threw to hitters today at Camden Yards, and so that's great news because they really need him back. He's a lefty reliever who can get lefties and righties out. He throws like 6 different pitches, and he's a different look than most hitters see in the late innings. he's throwing the kitchen sink at you. They're used to seeing high velocity arms.
Ross, what's the comeback like from bone chips? In other words, does he
Yeah.
have anything to fear that he's going to re-injure something? Or
I think coming back from bone chips was probably the easiest thing of any of them.
but it
And
does take time, though, right?
well, yeah. I mean, obviously you got operated on
Yeah,
and removing them, and it's and I never had that, but I've seen obviously work with guys that are coming back from that thing. It's still surgery,
yeah,
and you gotta you're gonna be stiff, you're gonna be sore because they invaded that area with
yeah.
with things, and it takes a little bit of time to do it. But once I think you overcome, guys come back and from all these other surgeries, Tommy John and labrum and rotator, which is a lot tougher, but once you overcome and get the fear that you're not going to hurt it, and that I think that's one of the things that guys, when they realize they're not going to hurt it,
Yeah.
they're pretty much ready to go.
Luke, Grayson Rodriguez, the fact that we've got no update of any kind on him, it makes it sound like if he comes back at all,
It's going to be late.
It'd be late. Too late to start. Might he be an option?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's really up in the air right now. He's got to get on a mound first before there's any sort of timeline, and
Yeah.
I don't think he's got on a mound yet.
Okay. Last question for you, Luke, because you're here in Baltimore, Ross isn't. But if you were, and then I'll throw it to Ross. But if you needed to get the last 3 outs of a game right now, and Dominguez and Soto are both available, who do you think gets leaned on?
Well, it depends on who's due up. If you've got a left-handed pocket, then maybe that's Perez, maybe that's Soto. If you got a right-handed pocket, maybe that's Cano, maybe that's Dominguez. So I think it's going to be a matchup deal for the most part. Unfortunately, Dominguez has been a little gopher ball prone, which is not what you want from your closer. Otherwise, he's been fine.
Yeah.
I think he's given up 5 home runs though. That's not really what you want from a back end reliever.
That's in about 12 or 13 innings.
But he will strike out some hitters. And the thing with Cano is that you're going to be subject to the random balls in play with him that aren't hit hard, but they're like top spin into the ground and they're hits. And it's, it'd be nice if they had Felix, huh?
Yeah, my answer there is Soto right now to me. I mean, I'd like to see him 1 or 2 more
Yeah,
times.
let me see him in a couple more high leverage spots before.
Ross, last question for you is Dominguez, this home run gopher ball thing. I don't know that that's plagued him his entire career. Probably has it somewhat, but I mean, is there anything that Drew French can help him with there, or
Yeah, don't throw them. Keep the ball down. Don't
keep
throw
the ball down?
Don't elevate it.
Yeah.
You
Is
know,
there somebody? I guess I'm saying, is there somebody he can copy?
I really think that he looks like a guy who he will lose his concentration and just throw the ball.
Yeah.
And not really concentrate on locating in a spot. And a lot of guys go through that, just some more than others. But I mean, he's a back end of the bullpen guy. You should be able to concentrate 15, 20, 25 pitches, and then go from there and locate. But I think he just rears back and throws with no rhyme or reason. Not every pitch, but too many of them. And he loses command and elevates the ball. And these guys are going to catch up to it and going to drive it pretty good. And obviously they do that at times.
I'll agree with you. I think that home run, didn't he give up one in Colorado, Luke, and it was on a 3-0 pitch and it had the guy hitting? Was it Colorado?
I forget what the count was. He did give up one in Colorado. He also,
I'm pretty sure it was a 3-0 pitch where he just thought all I have to do is get it
or
open.
if I remember correctly, it was like a get me over slider.
Yeah.
It got over the fence is where it got over.
It got over pretty good. Hey, that's going to
do about those, Ross.
Yes, I do. I give up several. I know all about them. Just make sure they're one run. There's nobody on.
I've never met anybody that doesn't give them up at all.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for today's show. We will be back at our usual time next Monday, as far as I know. For the reminder, though, the Raven game is Thursday. We're not doing a prospects report with Eric Garfield. We will be back next week with that. So this is going to do it. Glenn and I will have picks tomorrow, NFL picks, our Raven pick, our lock winner, and lock loser. And that's going to do it for today. Again, our thanks to the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. They're now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915, located in Harbor Point. We're also brought to you by our friends at AJ Michaels. What company makes your home more energy efficient, kills all allergens and viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? AJ Michaels. Turn to the experts, AJ Michaels and Carrier at ajmichaels.com. And of course, our friends at the Six Thumb Restaurant, the Costas Inn. That's going to do it for today. For Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson, I'm Stan the Fan. Enjoy your evening. Bye.